The room was spinning long before I had my third drink. Not from the alcohol, but from watching her, Mara, on the dance floor. The way her body moved to the beat, the way she smiled at him like he'd just whispered a secret meant only for her. I was leaning against the wall, feeling like an uninvited ghost at my own life. The worst part? I could see every detail. How his hand didn't just guide her, he held her. How she didn't pull away, even when his fingers brushed against her lower back like they had a right to be there. My chest felt tight, like the music was pressing down on me instead of lifting me up. I don't remember deciding to say it. The words just tore out of me when she came back to grab her drink, cheeks flushed and eyes sparkling. If you dance with him again, don't expect me to be here when you return. Her reaction wasn't anger or surprise. It was worse, she laughed. Not a sweet laugh, not even a nervous laugh. She laughed like I was the punchline to a joke I didn't understand. And for a moment, I swear I felt something snap inside me. The next song started. She looked at me over her glass, gave this little smirk, and then walked back onto the dance floor, straight to him. Like I hadn't said anything at all. And I stood there, gripping my drink so hard my knuckles went white, wondering if this was the exact moment my marriage quietly died. I don't know what came over me, but I couldn't just stand there watching them anymore. Every move she made with him felt like a deliberate slap in the face. Maybe I was imagining it, maybe I wasn't, but the way Everett leaned in close, whispering something in her ear, made my blood boil. My feet started moving before my brain even caught up. I crossed the room, weaving through people laughing, drinking, living lives that didn't feel like they were collapsing. When I reached the dance floor, I didn't tap her shoulder or politely ask to cut in like some gentleman from a movie. No, I grabbed her wrist, not hard, but firm enough for her to know I was done being the guy who waits quietly on the sidelines. She looked at me, shocked, almost offended, as if I had interrupted something private. Everett didn't say a word. He just smirked, like he knew I'd already lost whatever game he was playing. I whispered, "We're leaving. Now." My voice wasn't loud, but it had this shaking edge, like a rope about to snap. Mara pulled her hand away, and for a second, I saw something in her eyes that chilled me. It wasn't anger, and it wasn't confusion. It was something closer to amusement. Like I was the dramatic husband putting on a show for the crowd. She tilted her head slightly, gave Everett a look that made my stomach twist, and said, "You're overreacting, Elias. It's just a dance. Just a dance." As if that explained the way she let him hold her like that. As if I didn't see the flush on her face every time he leaned in. I wanted to yell, but the words stuck in my throat. Instead, I stepped closer to Everett, close enough that I could smell the mix of expensive cologne and arrogance coming off him. "Do you enjoy dancing with other men's wives?" I muttered. He raised an eyebrow, still smirking. "Do you enjoy being insecure?" The people around us had started watching by now. You could feel the tension hanging in the air, the music suddenly sounding too loud, too cheerful, like it didn't belong in the same universe as what was happening. Mara put her hand on my arm, but it wasn't comforting. It was a warning, like she wanted me to back down before I embarrassed her. That's when I realized I wasn't just angry anymore. I was afraid. Afraid of how easily she brushed me off. Afraid that maybe I was already too late. The silence between Mara and me on the drive home was louder than anything I've ever heard. I didn't even start the car right away. I just sat there gripping the steering wheel, my hands sweaty and trembling. She didn't look at me, not even once. She stared out the window like I was just her Uber driver who had said something mildly annoying. It was like the entire confrontation with Everett meant nothing to her. I broke first. "Do you think I'm an idiot? Do you think I didn't see the way he touched you?" My voice cracked halfway through, which only made me angrier. She finally turned to face me, but there was no guilt in her eyes. No anger either. Just boredom, like she was tired of hearing the same old tune. "It was just dancing, Elias," she said, her tone calm but sharp enough to cut me. "You always twist things into something they're not. Do you have any idea how exhausting that is?" I almost laughed, but it came out as something closer to a choke. "Exhausting? Mara, I told you, if you danced with him again, I wouldn't be here. And you laughed at me. You laughed like I didn't matter. Like you didn't care." She sighed, leaning her head against the window. "You don't get it, do you? I don't want to spend every night being your mirror, reflecting back your insecurities. Everett was fun. He made me feel alive. When's the last time you did that?" Her words hit me like a physical blow. I stared at her, completely at a loss. My wife, was looking at me like I was just some dull fixture in her life, something she'd grown tired of. And in that moment, I realized I wasn't just scared of losing her. I was terrified that maybe I already had. The rest of the ride home was suffocating. When we pulled into the driveway, I didn't even want to go inside. I just sat there, watching the shadows dance on the dashboard, feeling like my entire marriage was a house of cards and Everett's smirk had blown it all down. Then, just as I was about to get out, Mara's phone buzzed. She picked it up instantly, her lips curving into a small smile as she read the screen. She didn't hide it. She didn't even pretend to. I asked, "Who's that?" My voice was low, cold. She locked the phone, placed it in her lap, and said, "No one you need to worry about." But I was already worried. Because I knew it was him. I knew. That night, I couldn't sleep. Mara was lying next to me, scrolling on her phone in the dark, the soft glow of the screen highlighting her face in a way that felt almost sinister. I turned on my side and pretended to be asleep, but my mind was racing, looping through every moment of the party like a film reel that wouldn't stop. Her laugh, Everett's hand on her waist, that smirk. It all played over and over until I couldn't take it anymore. When her breathing finally slowed and the phone slipped from her hand onto the nightstand, I just lay there staring at it. I told myself not to do it, that I'd hate myself for crossing this line. But something inside me whispered, "You need to know." It didn't feel like a choice. It felt like survival. My heart was pounding as I picked it up, praying it wouldn't buzz and wake her. I opened her messages, and there it was, his name. Everett. My stomach sank as I saw a string of texts from earlier that night. The first one was harmless enough. "Had fun dancing with you tonight. You light up the floor." But then there were more. "You looked amazing in that dress. I can still feel your heartbeat when we danced. Did you feel mine?" And the one that made my blood turn to ice. "Next time, we don't have to stop at just dancing." I couldn't breathe. My chest was so tight, I thought I might wake her just from the sound of my panic. I wanted to throw the phone across the room, scream, demand answers. But instead, I just sat there, paralyzed, reading those lines again and again, like each word was carving something out of me. Then I saw something worse, her reply. Just one line, sent while I was sulking by the bar earlier in the night. "Maybe next time, we won't." I froze. My mind couldn't even process what I was looking at. She hadn't just let him cross a line, she'd erased it entirely. I wanted to shake her awake, demand an explanation, but what would that even do? She would deny it, twist it, make me feel like I was the problem, just like she did in the car. I slipped the phone back onto the nightstand and lay there, staring at the ceiling, my heart pounding so hard I thought it would burst. I realized something terrifying in that moment. I wasn't just scared of losing her anymore. I was scared of what I might do if this went any further. The next morning, Mara acted like nothing had happened. She made coffee, humming to herself, scrolling through her phone while I sat there at the kitchen table staring at her like she was some stranger who had broken into my house. I wanted to ask her who she was texting, who she was smiling at, but my throat felt dry and my voice was stuck somewhere between rage and fear. I knew I couldn't just sit there anymore, pretending this was normal. So I did something I'm not proud of. I followed her. She said she was going to meet a friend for brunch. Normally, I wouldn't think twice, but after what I read on her phone, I didn't believe a single word she said. I waited 10 minutes after she left, then grabbed my keys and drove after her, keeping a couple of cars behind so she wouldn't notice. My hands were shaking the entire time, and I couldn't stop asking myself what I'd do if I actually caught her lying. What would I do if I saw Everett? She drove across town, not to the little cafe where she usually meets her friends, but to a hotel. A hotel. I watched her park in front of the building and sit in her car for a moment, like she was hesitating. My heart was beating so hard I could feel it in my teeth. She looked down at her phone, typed something quickly, then got out and walked inside. She didn't see me. She didn't even look around. I stayed in my car for what felt like forever, gripping the steering wheel, trying to breathe. Every part of me screamed to storm inside, to catch her in the act, to make her look me in the eye and tell me the truth. But some part of me, the cowardly part, maybe the smart part, held me back. I didn't want the truth, not like that. Not in a way I couldn't unsee. I pulled out my phone and texted her, "Where are you?" I watched through the glass doors as she stopped in the lobby and looked at her phone. She typed back, "At brunch, just sat down." That single lie hit me harder than any confession ever could. She was lying to my face, and she didn't even hesitate. I sat there, frozen, as the minutes crawled by. And then, like a nightmare unfolding in slow motion, I saw him. Everett, walking across the parking lot, wearing that same smug grin, like this was just another normal day for him. He didn't look around. He didn't care who saw him. He just went inside, straight to her. I felt my whole body go cold. It wasn't just suspicion anymore. It was reality, standing right in front of me. And I had no idea what to do. I don't even remember opening the car door. 1 second, I was gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing keeping me grounded, and the next, I was on my feet, walking across the parking lot like a man possessed. Every step felt like I was wading deeper into a place I'd never come back from. I didn't have a plan, no speech, no dramatic line to throw at them. All I had was this pounding in my chest, this voice in my head screaming, "Don't let her get away with this. Don't let him win." The lobby was quiet, too quiet. The woman at the front desk gave me a polite smile that I didn't return. I scanned the elevators and saw the numbers climbing. I knew they were in there. I didn't even need to check. I could feel it, like the air was thicker, like every molecule around me was trying to tell me the truth. I forced a smile at the receptionist and muttered something about meeting my wife, but my voice cracked halfway through, making it sound more like a confession than an excuse. I walked to the elevators and pressed the button, my palms sweating so much I had to wipe them on my jeans. When the doors opened, I got in, my reflection staring back at me from the mirrored walls. I didn't recognize myself. My eyes were wide and hollow, my jaw clenched so hard it hurt. I looked like a man on the edge of doing something stupid. When I reached the 4th floor, the hallway was empty, but I could hear footsteps, muffled laughter, and then a door clicking shut. I followed the sound, my heartbeat sinking with every step. It was like I was outside my own body, watching this scene play out in slow motion. I stopped at room 417. I didn't even have to check the numbers on the other doors, I knew. My stomach twisted as I raised my hand, and for a moment, I hovered there, fist clenched, unsure if I wanted to knock or just turn around and walk away. But then I heard her laugh. Her laugh, the one that used to be mine, now muffled through a cheap hotel door. It was the final push I needed. I slammed my fist against the wood, not once, but 3 times, each pound louder than the last. The laughter stopped. Silence. Then footsteps. The lock clicked. And there he was, Everett, standing there like he wasn't even surprised to see me. He had this half-smile on his face, like I was the joke he'd been waiting to hear. "Elias," he said calmly, like we were old friends meeting for coffee. "Didn't expect to see you here." My mouth was dry, but I managed to speak. "Where's my wife?" He stepped aside, just slightly, and I saw her, Mara, standing in the middle of the room, her phone in her hand, her face pale. She didn't say a word. She didn't deny it. She didn't even look shocked. And that's when I realized something I wasn't ready to accept. Maybe she wanted me to see this. I stepped into the room without waiting for an invitation. Everett didn't stop me. He just stood there leaning against the doorframe like this was all some sort of twisted game he was winning. The air in the room felt heavy, like it was soaked with something I didn't want to name. Mara was standing near the bed, frozen, clutching her phone like it was a weapon. She didn't run to me, didn't explain, didn't even try to pretend. She just stared, her face pale but her eyes hard, defiant. "Say something," I demanded, my voice louder than I intended. "Tell me this isn't what it looks like. Tell me I'm not standing in some cheap hotel room watching my marriage die." My words came out jagged, half a plea and half an accusation, but she didn't flinch. She didn't even blink. Mara finally spoke, but her voice was flat, almost bored. "Elias, what exactly do you think you're proving right now? Do you think storming in here makes you the hero? You're just making a scene. Again. Again." The word cut through me like glass. "You're telling me this isn't the first time you've lied to my face like this? I read your texts, Mara. I know what you said to him." That got a reaction. Her expression flickered for just a moment. Anger, maybe fear, but it was gone in an instant. Everett, of course, had to chime in, his tone dripping with mock sympathy. "You really shouldn't read other people's messages, Elias. It makes you look desperate." Something inside me snapped. I took 2 steps toward him, close enough that I could see the smugness in his eyes like it was etched into his skin. "You think this is a joke? You think messing with someone's marriage is just a fun hobby for you?" Everett tilted his head slightly, like he was studying me. Maybe your marriage was already falling apart, and I just noticed before you did. I swear I almost hit him. My fist tightened, but I stopped myself. Not for his sake, but because I saw Mara watching me, waiting for me to lose it. If I swung, I'd be the bad guy. If I broke in front of them, I'd lose whatever scraps of dignity I had left. Why, Mara? I asked, my voice breaking this time. Why him? Was I that easy to replace? She looked away then, just for a second, and that was worse than anything she could have said. I don't know, she whispered, and I hated her for it because I think, deep down, it was the truth. She didn't know. Maybe she didn't care. The silence in that room was unbearable. I turned and walked out, not because I wanted to, but because if I stayed another second, I might have done something I couldn't take back. As the door closed behind me, I realized I was shaking so hard I could barely stand. I didn't drive home right away. I just sat in my car in that parking lot, staring at the hotel lights, wondering how the hell we had gone from a wedding dance to this. I thought about the man I used to be, the one who believed that love was enough. That man was gone, and I didn't know what would replace him. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the living room couch with the lights off, staring at nothing, letting every memory of Mara crash into me. Our first road trip, the way she used to fall asleep on my shoulder during movies, the tiny notes she used to leave in my lunch bag just to make me smile. Somewhere along the way, we'd lost all of that. Somewhere along the way, I'd stopped being the man who made her feel alive, and she'd stopped being the woman who believed in me. By the time she came home the next morning, I had already made my decision. Not out of anger, not out of pride, but because I couldn't keep living like this. When she walked through the door, her eyes were red, her hair messy like she hadn't slept either. She looked at me, and, for the first time in months, there was no wall between us. Just two people who were completely broken. Elias, she started, her voice trembling, but I raised my hand. I don't want to fight anymore, I said quietly. I don't want to be the guy who checks your phone or follows you around just to feel like I matter. I don't know how we got here, but I know this isn't us. Not really. Not the people we used to be. She broke down then, sitting beside me, her hands shaking as she tried to speak. I don't know why I let it get this far. I just felt invisible, Elias. Like you weren't seeing me anymore. But that's not an excuse. I'm sorry. I don't want him. I don't want this. I just want us. For a long moment, we didn't say anything. I wanted to scream, to throw everything we'd built onto the floor and let it shatter, but I couldn't. Because despite everything, I still loved her. And somewhere inside me, I could still see the woman who once chose me when she could have had anyone. We can't go back, I finally said. But maybe we can start again. Not as who we were, but as who we are now. Broken, but still here. Still trying. She reached for my hand, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I let her hold it. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a start. We spent the rest of the day just talking, really talking, about all the things we'd been too scared to say. The anger, the resentment, the fear of being unloved. By the time the sun set, something inside me had shifted. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't fixed. But when she smiled at me across the kitchen table, I saw a glimpse of that light again. The one that had always been there, waiting for us to find it. And for the first time in a long time, I believed we could.